Welcome one and all to another Humpday Q&A.
Oh, the music's over. I guess I got to stop dancing.
So let's see. Let's go quickly get through the beginning of things, and we go on some questions and answers and chit chat.
We should introduce ourselves first. Yes, there we go.
My name is Simon Lightfoot, community the CTO at Dev Angels London. You can follow me on Twitter at Dev Angels London. Randall.
I am Randall Schwartz. I am a longtime career professional in moving ones and zeros around. And right now, one of my roles is as a Dart and Flutter Google developer expert. I come on this show to help answer questions, your questions, questions of people in the live chat, and also to push the buttons to make sure that the rest of the team also notices the questions.
Yay. And Scott can't be with us today. He's feeling under the weather. So hopefully we feel better for next week. Right. Do's and don'ts. So be nice, respectful, constructive, whilst interacting with the chat. Don't post anything adult, rude, or offensive. And don't advertise or promote. And don't spam. Post the same thing again. Obviously, you know, if you messed up your question, you can repost it. The questions come from a first come, first served basis. And we try and get them, and we try and sort of have an end cut in at the very end so that we get to everyone's questions, basically. Yeah, any harassment is not tolerated, and you'll be banned for good, and from here and other places. So you've been warned. Right, let's get on with the good stuff.
We're missing a Scott. Should we explain that he's not here?
I did quickly mention that Scott isn't here. Yeah.
Oh, so, I was blurred.
All right. He's not feeling very well, and he'll be back with us next week.
Yeah.
So
Nilay. Hey, Nilay.
Is Nilay here? Oh, hey, Nilay.
Yeah.
So, I've been so busy this last week. I don't even know what's been going on. It's preparing all the
swamping time for me too.
Stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
we have a few announcements in the queue, but we also have a few questions in the queue. So we've got both announcements and questions. So whatever you want to do first, Simon.
Should we do announcements? Let's do announcements. What have you got? What have we got in the queue? I forget.
We've got a few questions so far, and we're coming in. Oh yeah, for Scott's benefit, this ain't Reddit. You're right. Yes, we forgot that part of the disclaimer. This ain't Reddit. Although we like the Reddit people. They come here with us as well. We announce on Reddit now. Yeah, so it was in the channel, the announcements we had to make. Wanted to.
Let me see if I can grab them up. Give me 1 second here.
I gotta push some buttons for that. Yes. They let anybody do this show, apparently. All right, let's see. Let's figure out what we're doing.
We should be prepared, right?
Yes, right. Should be.
Should.
The upper bowl. It's in a thread somewhere. There's the thread.
You found it?
Yeah. So Majid has a couple of things for us to take care of. Let's see. Flutter Byte Con, an African community. They are apparently brand new and growing out and doing a good job without having any support yet. So yay, Flutter Byte Con. If you're in Africa, check that out. Do we have a link? We don't have a link. So
I have a Flutter Bytes conference. I have a Twitter account here and a link. So let me grab that and bring that up on the screen and the chat and all the rest of it.
Good job.
Good job, buddy.
That's right. At least Simon's on the ball. I just woke up, so I'm still waiting for the caffeine to kick in.
Let's share this on the stream here. Hang on.
My tea.
I put the links in the chat, and
very British of me, although I'm not British, except very distantly.
Look, Flutter Bytes conference.
Oh, look at that! Wonderful. 16 days from now. So check that out.
Lagos, Nigeria.
Yeah.
Oh, and I think this is a Flutter. This is a Flutter website. I know because I can't select the text.
That's a good test. We gotta share someday all our secrets that we know about detecting.
Yeah, I did view source. That's definitely I can see the Flutter stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh look, keynote speaker Majid.
Ah,
yeah, mine.
Yeah. No wonder he wanted us to.
Lots of cool stuff.
Yep.
Still to be announced.
And
16 days to go.
Yes, and Majid also tells us that we should be talking about the Hacktoberfest. We got a new update for that. Can you pull that up?
I can bring that up. I can. I have
Simon.
We have the power.
And that way you can know all the participants that have seen their PRs, which have been merged already, which is nice.
I will find it. I am prepared.
And then also over 1,000 participants for the Hacktoberfest and so many PRs. And Majid's going to see if he can get us a number sometime during the show.
I thought it was brought up on here, but I'm not seeing it on here. So,
well,
but this is the main link. You can join into Flutter Hacktoberfest,
right?
And there's prize to be won. All the details on the website. Yeah, check it out. Oh, there's a global Hacktoberfest.
Yep.
Right. Anyway, right. Let's move
on.
Go.
Announcements done that we know so far.
Have we ticked? Hopefully we ticked all the boxes. Oh, and I saw Nilay asked, what's happening at DroidCon London? So next week, DroidCon London, we are doing a two days of full Flutter content during the event. And here you go. Here's the details. There you go. So let's get that banner out of the way. Yes. Where is it? There it is. I can't come. So yeah, so lots of people, your names in the community are coming to London to talk. Tickets are still available and they can be got on the website. That's london.droidcon.com, and I will post a link in the chat. And if you DM me on one of the Slacks or Twitter, you can get a 50% discount on your ticket. So there you go. Thank you very much. And
I saw an interesting tweet on that there were like so many Flutter talks at DroidCon that we were sort of taking over, which was nice.
Well, the thing is, if you actually look, it's not a lot at all compared to they do 5 tracks. They do 5 tracks for 2 days. It's huge number of talks. Huge number of talks. Very big conference.
Wow.
I think the let's put it to one side. Yeah, so this is the website. I'm sure they actually had, there you go, like 90 plus talks, 5 tracks, 2 days.
Wow.
It's a huge number. So yeah, the thing is, even if you're into Flutter, you don't just see the Flutter stuff, knowing about how Android works when you're building Android apps is also really important, and there'll be lots of skill share there that's going on. So very worth attending. So yeah.
Right.
Anyway, right.
Yeah, you're always curious. Flutter people are always curious. How do you get stuff to run in the background? On my Droid, I want to make sure that I can do that. Yeah, that's running stuff in the background seems to be a constant request on all the question channels I see. It's like, how do I get my app to keep running in the background? Well, most of the time you don't. You don't want to keep burning up your battery.
Yeah, I mean, I think someone asked me a similar question the other day. I'm like, well, what? The thing is, I think the problem we get, I mean, we get this quite often when we're answering questions online, is like someone asks, how do I do this very specific thing? And then you have to think, but why are you doing that specific thing? Right? Because normally there's a better answer of the way you should be doing it over here, right? So it's always nice to, when you ask a question, explain what you're trying to achieve, along with, what you need an answer for. And then, so therefore, you're not just answering the technical thing, because normally you can answer and say, oh, this is how you do it. But that's not normally the way you want to go about answering it or fixing the problem.
Yeah, the way to get from Portland to Seattle in 45 minutes is you speed at 200 miles an hour. But that's not a valid solution. So we need to know why you need to get between those two cities in that short a time. So,
and then we say buy an airplane.
Yeah, buy an airplane. Right. Do you have the resources to buy an airplane? The way I like to say it over the decades of me being a question answerer is every problem is part of a solution to a bigger problem. And if you understand the stack there, you can sometimes go up a couple steps and go, oh, well, really, you can solve that by going way back to here and going, don't do that in the first place or whatever. Yeah.
And you can like get rid of a bunch of the complicated stuff and make something simpler even.
Right.
Talking about questions, let's start.
Yeah, we have some. Yeah, let's do it.
Techist, what is the best plugin?
Speaking
fetch the background location details. So I don't know if there is a plugin for that, honestly.
No.
I mean, it's not something you ideally want to do. So on Android, at least, you can create a service. This is just making you make a standard plugin. We've been through this I think every week we talk about how you make a plugin. And it's on the Flutter.dev site. I'm just gonna do the actions again while we're here. It's docs, platform integration, and then you've got write platform specific code, and then obviously Android, iOS, and the specifics about that. And there's also packages and plugins, developing packages and plugins, which also gives some help. But write platform specific code. Platform specific code is the piece you need. And basically, what you can do is you can set up either a sub package, or you can just do it inside your app. You create a method channel, and then when you're in your native code, you can start what's called a foreground service. And in that foreground service, you can query location, and it's called a foreground. It shows up in notifications. The user can then cancel it. So then also the user knows that you're doing something in the background. That's how you deal with that, right? There should also be a way of disabling it, enabling it, allowing the user to choose if you want to do something in the background. But that's the answer to that.
And as I recall, there's also a code lab that even talks about using geofencing with Flutter, or maybe that was just a post somewhere, a Medium post. Yeah. But geofencing is the way you want to keep track of things, because you don't want to be having any code running while you're still in the same zone. So like if you're sitting idle at your desk for 5 hours and then you go across the street, you only want to be notified when that happens.
So geofencing lets you write virtual location. So that, for example, let's say you want to perform an action when the user gets home, or even better, in range of their home Wi-Fi, right? Then you can do so you can then do things like set up a geofence. You register it with the platform, with actually Google Play services, and then it will fire off an antenna on Android, wake up your app, and run some code based on the fact that they got home, for example. And you can do that. You can also do the standard work manager plugin. Also says, when Wi-Fi is available and this and that condition holds true, then you can do something. But to be honest, fetching someone's location all the time in the background, it's got a very bad smell to it, very bad privacy smell to it as well. If it is about security, however, like you're trying to secure a device and all this kind of stuff, and that's your product, then on Android, at least, you've got device administration. It's an API. It's part of the API set, and that allows you to register as your app as a device administrator, meaning that it can restrict access to those things or have further access to the system and do things like getting the location of the device all the time, right? But again, you can't ask a user to give a random app admin privileges on your device to do that kind of stuff. There has to be a practical reason. So if this was like a company phone and it was like a company app, then this makes sense.
Yeah, let's bring this one up just for a second here, just because we also want to shout out to people who are doing other conferences around the world. Flutter Brazil's had Flutter Brazil this month, so good to see that we're having these worldwide conferences. This is great.
Yeah. It's all coming back alive. It feels like, after COVID, after everyone's been away, it feels like suddenly it's all coming back alive. I'm like, people like, can you come to this event? I literally, if I went to all these events and spoke, I would not get anything done. Not for 3 months. like literally, I'd be just flying everywhere constantly, and I'm afraid that's not my job. So I can't do that. But I help where I can. But
it's even tough enough being virtual at these places. Like especially a couple months ago, I was doing every single Flutter event that was all about telling about what happened at Flutter 3.0 and stuff like that. So this was it's been a lot of fun. Keep inviting me, people. I love coming to hang out, and if nothing else, hang out in a Q&A session at the end of your show. I do have some prepared talks I can give, but I'm better just kind of hanging out because I'm good at that, apparently. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this show. Yes, we have. Right. We already have 10 more things. Let's go. Let's do it.
Calan asked, in widget/class constructors, what kind of things typically might go in the super? Cool. Normally it's the super key, which is your so the whole point of super is to provide forward parameters on from your class to your subclass, your parent class, as it were, the one that you're inheriting from. So most of the time, that's stateless widget or stateful widget, base class, right? Yeah. So that's your so there's normally stateless widget or stateful widget, and in those cases, it's just key. However, there's other classes like form field and other customizable fields which require you to pass on more parameters. So it's just based on the widget that you're inheriting from. Now you can create your own base classes, so you could make a stateful widget that requires some parameters, and then make it abstract, and then have other implementations that forward those parameters on. A lot of the time, like these parameters, the reason why you put parameters the way you do is more about like classification and limitation and structure, right? So yeah, I mean, to say what typical things might go in there is entirely, yeah. For the most part, it's just parameters that you're passing from one widget down the tree to the next.
And I do like the was it new in 2.17 where we added the super dot. Key now, and the shortcuts generated. The code rewrite stuff doesn't yet though. So if I extract as a widget, it uses old style for key. And
really?
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, to be honest, I don't actually use the extractors widget ever. I don't think.
Yeah.
However, yeah, I think there's a linter rule that I've been using. Where is it?
Oh, is there one, right?
Use super parameters, and it has a fix
experimental
in Dart fix. Yeah, it's just because it's new, right? But it came in 2.17, so it's in Flutter 3.2. It has a Dart fix for it. Basically, yeah. So this allows you to this is your old code, turns into this. So rather than putting the parameters in and passing them on, this is kind of like boilerplate, right? Instead, you can do super.x and super.y, and therefore sort of pass the parameter straight on. And this is now this is the gone. It's a lint check and Dart fix.
Is that lint in core?
Yes, it's in Dart core. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
It's not. I don't think it's on by default. You have to be inherit from not recommended but experimental. But you can just add this to your. You can just add this to your analysis options lint list. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's what I've done. All my projects I have this now.
Nice. Oh yeah, that's going to be so handy because then I don't have to worry about how it initially cuts it out, and especially I'm using some snippets in VS Code that come from other people that haven't been updated yet to use the new parameter style, and so I'm making widgets that have the wrong shape because they don't have the right keys.
I went through and just updated all my own like, little live templates that have the new format.
Me too.
Next question.
Cool.
I'm not going to try and pronounce your name. Sorry. Is it possible to change the direction of the show modal bottom sheet, e.g., have it from the slide at the top? Go on.
There's a package I think called top modal sheet or something like that allows you to sort of come in from the other sides. I don't think the core actually allows you to change that. I might be wrong.
This is a common thing that we get. So I'm going to just switch to the switch to the docs here. Was it show model bottom sheet? Show modal bottom sheet. So this is in the material package, meaning it follows material guidelines. It's not designed to come down from the top or the left or the right because it follows material design guidelines, right? So although we talk about this as a bottom sheet, really you're saying, I want to do something that is not material design, in which case you find a package that does that or you do it yourself. And to be honest, animating something from the top of the screen is not too difficult. And if we want, I could probably stick around for a little bit and do a bit of live coding and show you this at the end. So if you want to stick around, we could probably follow on to that if we get through all these questions. So just remind me at the end, and we'll see what we can do.
One of the things you should always ask yourself, if you want to do something that material isn't doing, then you should think about it a little bit, because remember, you're really trying for good user experience. And the one in particular that comes to mind is a couple days ago, somebody asked me how to make radio buttons essentially, but have them look like checkboxes instead of radio buttons, or have them look like just buttons you press in and out. And they only wanted one selected at a time. I said, well, that's a radio button. Okay, so you should use the radio button style for that so that I understand how those buttons interact, instead of you just having elevated or depressed toggles that only one can be on at a time. That's confusing to me because I don't get that from the UI. So think about why material has developed this stuff over the decades, years, days, whatever.
And the official guidelines.
Yep. Material.io.
Here, this is m3.material.io, and I put the link in the chat. And so there's a whole thing on here around, like, obviously how you can develop, but more about like foundation, style, motion, color, how you should be defining your colors, what it recommends. There's some really good stuff in here. I'm trying to remember. I haven't seen this new structure, so I'm lost here. I don't know components. Here we go. Dialogues. You should get recommended ways of, like, dialogue specs.
There are implementations in Flutter. So if you go to
it's over here, develop Flutter. There's probably something in here. Anyway, I'm not going to like dash through it, but what I was going to say, hang on, I've lost it. Is guidelines. This is the thing. So in here, it explains what you should do and what you should not do. Right? Yes. Download complete. Okay, that is not a dialogue. You don't do this. It explains why you shouldn't do it. And this comes from from Google's UX experience of, like, many years running against real people and on all the rest of it, right? So,
and they spent lots of money on this, so we're taking advantage of them spending lots of money on doing UX.
So you kind of get a bunch of stuff for free, and this just goes into, like, how you should be writing your titles, right? Like headline, optional, how you should be writing it, and how you should phrase your questions and your buttons and all this kind of stuff. So it's all great UX stuff that's going to make, it's one of those things, it's kind of interesting. It's one of those things when you're building an app and you're doing it yourself as a developer, you just do what you think. Oh, you should have okay and cancel, right? Most people, or default, use as default. Like, that's a phrase that we could say and we understand that. Most people don't understand that phrase, right?
What I like to say is that
things.
The API documents show how to implement something once you have it designed, but material.io tells you sort of the philosophy behind it. And I always start there when I'm looking at a UI element, and I start there, see what material has to say about it. Although I do like Matt Jones' comment here. I just want to pull this up. Sometimes the design team refuses to back down. So too bad.
Well,
but most of the time they're good. Most of the time.
What you have to say that is I have to say, just to add to what Matt's saying there, you always speak up, though, because you've had your voice heard. If they disagree, that's their problem, not yours now, right?
Yeah.
This is just in big, especially in big corporations, right? And then when it turns around at the end of the day and then it gets pushed back, or you have to do more work to change it to how it should be, right? Then you can and they go, well, why did we do this in the first place? And I said, that's exactly what I said we should do, and then you will also get respect for that. You know what you're talking about, and then your design team will take on board what you say next, right?
Definitely. So material.io, start there for new UX and it has Flutter implementations of everything just with 2 clicks away or so. Yeah, very good.
How does one deal with provider not found exception when it's already registered in a multi-block provider? It's not. There you go. So what's happening here? Well, that's literally what it means. It's not found it. You've declared it in the provider, but it cannot find that multi-block provider in the tree that's going up. So when you went from this context, that context is not in the subtree of your multi-block provider. Your multi-block provider is not above that somewhere. So it can't find it. That's why you get an exception. So it's probably because your multi-block provider is not outside of your material app. If you move your multi-block provider above your material app in your tree, what will then happen is that it doesn't matter if you're trying to get to your blocks from a pop-up dialog or from some other page, you'll still be able to find that content. Obviously, depends on which blocks you put where, and that's completely up to how you're dealing with that. But yeah, and
that problem all goes away. That problem all goes away with RiverPod. So you guys should move to RiverPod.
You should also think about that your type that you're looking for is exactly the same type as the one that you're providing. So command click on it. Does it take you to the same file? Is the same file being used for both? Because if you have the different file or 2 different versions of the same class or name class or something in 2 different places, they're 2 different versions. They're not going to be matched. So yeah, you probably won't find it that way.
Yeah. I have occasionally accidentally shadowed the name of a built-in type with a local type.
Oh yeah, especially
oops. Yeah.
There's also what did I do? I'm going to take us back here to the very beginning. There was a bug in Dart 1 sometime. I can't remember what it was. And it meant that if you declared a class in your main.dart file where your entry point was, and you tried to access it elsewhere, it would think it was a different class. It was exactly the same name. It linked to the same thing, but it would appear as a completely separate instance of the type. It's a real hassle bug.
I know what you were saying. Actually, it was the problem with package versus relative.
That was it. Yeah,
if you imported both with package something, which was your package, and a relative URL, the path name, those would be considered 2 different packages, and so you'd end up with 2 different instances of your name foo. Yeah, I remember that. Thank God those.
And it would drive me insane, those things.
Yes.
Anyway, all right, let's move on. Right. TDD and DDD for multi-feature app. Yeah, what would be a good way of sharing classes between features?
Share them.
What will there be a good way? I mean, it says
first multi-feature app. Is that like with separate repos? Is that?
I mean,
is that
it could be separate packages. I think. Please clarify if you're talking about separate packages, like because multi-feature just doesn't really mean anything. It just means you're doing multiple features, which every app has multiple features. It just means
I hope so.
Means you're organizing it by feature. I think if you're trying to use separate package, obviously you need a third package that has your abstract interfaces in, and then you're using it in both, and you're or a third place that you're sharing code. And this is just like a dependency chain problem, right? That you've got some stuff over here, some stuff over here that both need to access each other. And you should not be doing that, right? You shouldn't have one package depend on that and that one depend on that, right? Because that creates a circular dependency. Instead, what you do is you lift up the code that you need in both and put it in a separate package. And these 2 packages can depend on the same third package, right? And all these packages can just be in your local repo. You don't have to, you basically making a mono repo then. Just make the packages subfolder on your project. Each directory inside there is a separate package. You're golden. You're good.
Right.
All right.
Use Melos. Use Melos if you're going to.
Melos. Yeah.
Melos.
Is that how I pronounce it? Yep. Just
MELOS.
Gonna pop that in the chat here and just bring it up on stream just as a side here. So this is the go-to package if you're building a mono repo. It manages Dart projects with multiple packages. I've used it in all of them now, and it's brilliant. You just define a Melos YAML in your repo. And you don't have to have a package. You can have it all different ways you want. And it allows you to run commands and set things up It's used on the Flutter Community Plus plugins, Firebase, lots of packages, and there's a great documentation if I can find it here. It's here.
Yeah, it's well
and this
done.
talks about how you deal with it. But basically, once you check out a repo with Melos, you just run Melos BS or Melos Bootstrap, and then it will go to pub-get. It will link it all up. It will get it all worked out for you and everything else, right? No,
Right,
you can do script
right.
post Bootstrap and tell it to run build runner after you do Bootstrap. Therefore, building all the code that might be missing, right? There's clean exec. There's a bunch of like commands, but you can do lots of stuff using multiple packages, and it makes it all work together seamlessly. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
What are the packages you use in your apps or web apps to secure them, prevent reverse engineering? So first of all, you can build your Dart app with -- obfuscate, and there is some API documentation on that. I'll just grab that now. So obfuscation, just the obfuscate. Why you no work? Why are you searching GitHub? Right? Oh my goodness me. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Right, brings up a stream. So this, I'll put the link in the chat. Yeah, so this is code obfuscation, supported on Android and iOS and Mac, but not on web. But the web app can be minified, so you can actually run it from minifier. There's plenty of web minifiers to minify like JavaScript, right? Obviously, that means that your stack traces get affected by that and several other things, but here's what it is. But yeah, you can build with -- obfuscate, and then that will get rid of it. You can split, you ideally want to split out your debug info like this, and then you can then later on call Flutter symbolize with your stack trace, because your stack traces want to have gobbledygook and weird names in and symbols in, which won't make much sense to you reading it. So what the symbolize does is it converts those gobbledygook symbols using those output, using the output from your build. So you need to store each time you do a build, you need to store this output in a folder, maybe in Google Drive or somewhere else, I don't know, somewhere private, and that's going to have all the symbols for each release. You should name them with each release, and then have to keep hold of them for as long as you want to debug those releases, because that's the only way you're going to get back the symbols that have now been removed. Okay, but that's obfuscation, which is one step. There's also a package called FreeRasp. And I'll pop that in the chat. And FreeRasp is so RASP is runtime app self-protection. And what this does is it will tell you if someone's trying to like open your app up on a jailbroken phone, or they're trying to hook things, or they're trying to run it inside an emulator, all these kind of like attack methods. And what's going to happen is if you follow all the instructions, it's quite complicated, but once it's running, and then you give it your expected config, and then at the end of the day, you'll get back these Android callbacks on root detected, on emulator detected, on hook, on tamper detection, and then you get to do whatever you want in your code. And in which case, if you see like root detected, you can just say shut down the app, right? Don't let it go any further, and you could just do this at the very beginning of your app before it does anything else, right? And yeah, there you go. I mean, there's, I don't know if I can think of like there's any other things you can do. I mean, ideally, if you're the end of the day is if you're shipping your code and you're giving it to someone, you're literally going, here's my app, run it, right? And at which point you don't have any rights, like like they can just take it apart and do whatever they want with it. All of these things can be broken at some point. They're just mechanisms to make it more difficult, right? So there's no like silver bullet. This is the ultimate protection. No one can break this, right? And at some point,
it depends on relative value. I mean, it's all return on investment. How much time and energy do I spend turning this pile of ones and zeros into something that looks like source code, or looks like giving me the secrets from it? That's really the things you got to worry about.
And there's always great things you can do just within your app, and that is use build runner, use other things to do code generation. And what you can do is you can take keys and secure API keys and whatever else, put them in your code, encrypt them with a fixed key, ship the fixed key within your app, and at runtime you decrypt them. So that way, static analysis, that is, they just open up the binary or they look through it for strings or for information. You can't glean anything because it's all encrypted and it just looks like junk, right?
Right.
And you can do that kind of stuff quite easily. Hope that helps.
Yeah.
AAA asks how to execute Cognito's AdminCreateUser action. Using Amazon's Cognito package.
I was going to say correctly. You should execute it correctly.
So
I don't know.
Out
of our area.
What we need is, so you need to reach out to Salih. Salih is, I'll get his Twitter account and pop it in the chat. Salih is the senior developer advocate for AWS Amplify. This is exactly his kettle. This is exactly what he can answer. And reach out to him on Twitter probably, and you'll get an answer. I mean, I'm just going to.
There's also an Amplify Discord that is linked from the Flutter Discord. The Amplify Discord isn't only about, I guess it has to be about Flutter because Amplify means Flutter. Yeah, but that's a great place to go as well.
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm sure one of these, the official package has that. And if they don't have it, I'm sure they'll want you to request a feature request and they'll get it added because this is exactly the kind of thing, the feedback that they want. So yeah, reach out to them and they'll get it done. I'm sure. I can't predict that, but yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
In Go Router, if a parent route can have multiple subroutes in a list, how does it decide which to go to if there's more than one subroute? The subroutes have names though, so they're just done by their name. So listing a subroute in a parent route just gives it a parent ownership. So it makes sure that is built before the subroute, right? And they're stacked on top of each other, as it were. But they've got different names. It doesn't just navigate down; it's essentially navigating up. If that kind of makes sense. Each subroute has its own route name. Hope that helps. Patrick, from a render object's point of view, how does AutomaticKeepAlive mixing work? Oh, should we go down the rabbit hole? We could do that. I actually do know. So AutomaticKeepAlive uses wow. I'm gonna have to fact check myself here because it's been a while since I looked at this.
Okay.
I remember using parent data widget, but it uses notifications to go up the tree, and they get picked up by a sliver list or a sliver grid view. Essentially, it's the bottom end of scrolling, and that is what tells it to keep it alive. And we can go into details and walk you through that. So I'm going to put that on the back burner here and get to some more questions. And stick around, Patrick. We'll pick it up. So we've got. I'm going to make a little list here. So we've got. I'm going to make a quick list. How does AutomaticKeepAlive work? What was the other one? I've already forgotten the other one.
Yeah.
Oh, show modal. I have to do your own. Yeah. Okay. Right. Moving on. So we're going to get to the questions.
Also, can you, before you do this, can you put the question up, put the Q in front of the questions banner?
Oh yeah. So
I've been seeing questions go by that aren't marked with Q. I presume that's a question amongst yourselves. Okay, not for us. So if you want it for us, just put Q in front of it. Simple, really simple.
Repost it with a Q. Repost it with a Q.
Repost it with a Q. We'll see it then. Yeah.
Let's see here. In Windows, how can I know the app state, like app lifecycle state? How can we know app is minimized, active, or closing? Sadly, as far as I know, there is no active lifecycle state for those. However, you can just call the Windows APIs, and it's all solved. So if you go look on Pub, there's a package called Win32. And this package will let you access all the Windows APIs by Tim Sneath. And inside here, yeah. Oh, that's a good question. It's been a while. Get window flags. No, it's not get window flags. It's brain. Come on. Get window style. The style and the style EX actually contain the flags for the window is minimized, and then basically you've got WS. Yeah, it's on WS minimized. The window is actually minimized, the same as iconic. If it's got this style, it's minimized. If it isn't, there is actually is minimized. I think it is iconic. Yeah, it is iconic because it's an old API. Yeah, so there's actually a synonym for is minimized, but is iconic. You run this with your window handle, and you can get that. There's other. You just have to. It's basically you're asking about Windows specific thing here, right? But you can go call the Windows APIs directly from Dart code using this package, and therefore work out exactly what's going on. So you want to do get foreground window, and that will give you your window handle. So the return thing here is an int in Dart, but it's what's called a hwin or of a window handle. It's basically a unique number that identifies the window that you're in. So those will be obviously your apps window. Pass it to is iconic, and then this will return 0 or 1. 1 being well, just if it's not 0, then it's true, and if it's 0, it's false. And that'll tell you if it's minimized or not. And the same goes. There's lots of other APIs that you'll find on the Windows official documentation on MSV. It's Visual Studio. Where's what's it called? Damn it! It's been so long. Microsoft Studio Network. Microsoft Developer Network. Yeah, MSDN. That's the one. I know it's there somewhere.
yeah, MSDN.
Yeah, MSDN lists all of the flags and the APIs, and you can just use the Win32 package to access them all. Hopefully that helps and solves your problem.
Yeah.
How to execute cognito admin create function from within Flutter. I'm using Amplify. We answered this earlier, and this is to reach out to Sally. Let's carry on. How do you protect your app from older vulnerable packages used in packages installed in PubSpec? Upgrade your packages, and if you're talking about third-party packages, you have dependency overrides to solve that. Now, sadly, you can do dependency override and you can break your app, right? Because you're asking like a package that you depend on might depend on this other package, and if you force upgrade that other package, now you might break this middle dependency that you've got. That's the package that you directly depend on. The code might just break because it's not up to date with the latest version of the package. So you have to be careful. But there's a whole section in the Dart documentation on PubSpec, which I'll pop in the chat here. I'll pop in the chat. So this is the official documentation link, and this takes you to the PubSpec file. This is where you get up all of those lovely things about all the names you can put in, and it actually says here. There you go. Dependency. Under dev dependency. During the development process, you might need to temporarily override a dependency. You can do so using dependency overrides. I'm sure there's a whole bit in here around that somewhere. Anyway, the point here is you can override those dependencies. Maybe that can help you solve the vulnerable things, but the answer is upgrade the packages that you're depending on, checking your PubSpec log file for those third-party packages that you're using, dependencies, or use was it Dart Pub Obsolete? Is it Obsolete? I think that's the one. Also, great thing that's actually out. I think we spoke about this before, but the Dart team have partnered with GitHub on providing security, and this is the article. I'll pop this in the chat. And they're now linked up to the advisory database and dependency graph and Dependabot. And if you enable security in your GitHub repo, now you get alerted when there's a security vulnerability in one of the pub packages, and it tells you normally what to do to upgrade and so on to fix the security vulnerability. So this is huge. This is great. So
you rewrite it in React Native if the alert comes out. Yes.
Raf. Raf actually asked this question earlier, and I said, "Come on the show and answer it." Humpday.
Yeah,
it's probably waiting patiently to get to this question.
Yep.
So he wants to write some Android integration, and he wants to show you. And the example of using this library says register for activity result, but I don't have that inside the Flutter fragment activity, even after adding the Calan libs and hints. So there's a piece of the puzzle that you're missing, and I'm going to get that up here. So there's official documentation. Let me get up. Oh, I closed it. That's not good. Yeah. So hopefully this comes up now. So this is the official Java doc page. I'll make this bigger. I'll pop a link in the chat. This is linked in the official documentation. These are all the packages that are all part of the Java code that runs the plugin stuff. And in here, there's particularly activity aware. And what you do is on your Flutter plugin, you add the activity aware interface. You just add it, and then you implement these methods, and it gives you an instance of this activity plugin binding. You store this whenever you want, and on this, add activity result listener, and you have a remove activity result listener. So basically, when you're listening to it, and this is how you're going to give the activity result, and this gives you that the request code, result code, and the data that you can pass on to your library. So basically, the answer is implement implements activity aware to your Flutter plugin instance, and then you can get access to the binding interface where you can register and unregister your activity result listeners. So this was actually added before they've added register for activity results. So that's why this is a bit. The two things are the same. The synonymous as being exactly the same. You just don't need to register. You just use this interface for Flutter instead. All right. So again, there's that. I will mention that's the Java one, and there's also an iOS a documentation, if I can find it.
Sure, there's the equivalent. Yeah, you got to be able to do lifecycle management.
Yep, and here it is.
Cycle.
And I'll put the link in the chat. So this is the Objective-C docs, and yeah, and in here it tells you all the same thing. There's a bunch of all the classes that are used inside the Flutter integration for iOS is listed here, and then what the parameters are, and all the different various things that you need. I'm not going to go into it, but yeah. So
yep.
Ta-da! Right. Anyway, moving on.
Yep.
Hope that helped you out. Right. In Flutter Google Maps, rendering tens of thousands of markers to freeze down. Is this when most? No, it would not. Sorry. So it would.
Multi-threading though might work. I threaten you.
Multi-threatening.
Yeah.
No. So we're not laughing at you here. It's just funny when you read it. Anyway. So
we're laughing with you.
The problem you've got is that you're trying to render tens of thousands of markers. So you're trying to literally shift data of tens of thousands of markers across a platform channel, update the app. It's going to take a long time. Then it's got to process them. What you do is you get the area of the screen the map is showing and only send the markers for that area of the map, right? And then it will, what you do is you do a rebuild, it diffs it and works out what ones it needs to get rid of, what ones come in. And that's it. It's as simple as that. So it already supports that mechanism because the way Flutter does it is rebuilding. So all you need to do is give it the markers that it needs to show on the screen at that moment in time. And you can listen to the controller, the Google Maps controller, get the position and the area of the screen that's visible, then use that to search your database for the markers that are inside that longitude, latitude bounding box. And then just do a rebuild and use those on your screen. And then that will ensure that you're only showing, let's say you're only showing 3. You're only ever going to say 3. Zoom out, you show 10. You're only going to show 10. I would put an upper limit on it or an upper radius on the amount that you're showing. Because obviously, if you zoom out and you show the entirety, let's say the United States, you're not going to try and ship all the United States pins over to Google Maps display. And this is going to get when maps get complicated. I've done this before. Maps get complicated at this point because you need to deal with 3-dimensional levels, right? You're dealing with the X and the Y, right? So that's your latitude and your longitude. And then you're dealing with your depth. That's how much the zoom level is. So when you're zoomed out, you normally want to show, but even for an area I have too many markers, So
that's a UX problem. That's a UX problem that you have to solve.
So
not because of Flutter.
Yeah. So what you need to in this situation, what you do is there's what's called it's just gone from my head. I'm going to get the library for you because I know where to go to find the answer. Oh, that's going to bug the hell out of me. I've made several of these algorithms. The name just escapes me. A clustering pin clustering. So there's officially a Google Maps repo. Here we go for Android that I'm just popping in the chat. It's based. Hey, clustering is not an option right now. Well, if you zoom out to show, you have to show cluster. That's it. You can't show. How can you show everything when it's that big, right? It just doesn't make sense. But the cluster icon can be like a round circle with a number. It's not tappable. You have to zoom in to get more. So you're asking the user to zoom in a certain level to get the number down to something that's manageable to be displayed on the screen, right? That's how you deal with that problem. Right now, as the location has different icon and state based on tap or not. Freeze only
what a horrible UX. What a horrible UX.
You need to fix this, right? Clustering is there for a reason. It's designed for that purpose. It's like this whole thing is around that. There's actually a library on Pub called Flutter, which I've used before. I'll pop that in the chat. I'm not sure how good it is, so don't. I can't remember. I think it might have been improved, but that's a clustering library. Looks like someone else has made a few others. Here's one that looks like it works with Google Maps. I'll pop that in there. Yeah, I'm sure you'll find a clustering library. But anyway, back to the point is that, you've got your X1, your depth, and then you can do what's called a quad tree, which lets you organize and display only things for a certain area of your map. And that gives you also speed in terms of processing hundreds of thousands of elements. So you whittle down just the exact points in the quad tree where those pins are, and then you're just sending those over to your card. But again, you need to group and limit. That's the only way you're going to do that. All right, moving on. We could maps is a really what's the word? Complicated problem. Like you're dealing, whenever you deal with real life data, it's a complicated problem. So I'm gonna have to share that. I'm gonna have to share this. Hang on. I've been sent an image that I have to bring up on the stream. I have to bring this up. It's now a requirement to bring this up on the stream. Hang on. The one time I want it, it's not gonna. Hang on. Copy.
And while you're doing that, Nathaniel, if you keep asking the question, you go to the bottom of the queue again. So don't do that. I remove you from the previous time you asked it, and now I put it in at the end. So don't keep asking your question. That just moves you down.
Yeah, as we said, don't spam. Don't spam.
Yep.
Right. Where is it? Share screen. Here we go. It's really loud. Here we go. This is what we don't want to see. Okay.
That's great. That is great.
It's like there's literally no use to anyone, right? Literally without clustering, how is that helpful to absolutely anyone, right? The way you cluster doesn't, to be clear, he talked about like a state of the place. Cluster based on that state, then cluster on that state and the location. And then you can have 2 pins per location, one's in either state. Like I don't know, like you said state, I assume you meant like push state, I think tap state or something like that. Like obviously state as in like a US states. That's obviously by location. But yeah. Anyway, you get the point. Like that is not helpful to anyone. So yeah, don't do that. Anyway, moving on. Right. Is RxDart used for state management? Is it recommended? So how do I answer this? How do we answer this, Randall?
It is used. I don't recommend it.
I mean, what I
That's
mean is,
easy.
it's not really state management, is it? Like what you so
Right.
RxStart just gives you features to work with streams, and you can use streams to do use on blocks. You can use RxStart with blocks. You can use RxStart. You can just use streams for your state management, and RxStart can help you do your streams, right? The point here is like, yes, you can do all of this, right? You asked, is RxStart used for state management? Yes. Is it recommended? All of them are recommended because like whatever works for you, right? I personally have used direct streams in RxStart for state management before. It works just fine. But like we talk about state management as in like it's a broad topic. It's not as black and white as that, right? All right, moving on.
Yep.
Jordan, with Flutter Riverpod, is there a way to trigger a did change dependencies? Randall, is there a way to trigger did change dependencies?
Anytime you're watching something or listening to something, you're going to be triggering a rebuild on the widget that you're in. And that starts the cycle where did change dependencies triggers just before the build. So yes, that is going to always trigger that. That's part of the protocol of what a widget lifecycle looks like.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
All right. Simple.
Then you thought correctly.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
I mean, the thing is, I think the question here is if you're using Flutter Riverpod, what is the way? I think I'd say that you can make a change notifier, like make a class extension change notifier, use that with your Riverpod provider, right? So you make a change notifier provider, and that way, whenever you call notify listeners in your class, it will cause the things that are listening to that object to be rebuilt. Done.
Exactly.
Right. Like that's a basic premise.
It's the whole point of provider.
Yeah, it could be all sorts of different things. That's how be a change notifier, right?
Yeah. Right.
What is the best way? We come up to the hour now, actually, but we're going to carry on unless someone needs to go. I'm going to carry on. What is the best way
unless Scott comes in and says, I got to go now, and we're going to shut the show down. No, Scott's not going to come in. Don't worry about it. It's just us.
What is the best way to perform background service on iOS? The Flutter Work Manager. Yeah, again, you can't. Like it's just the way iOS works. Sorry. Think of a different way to build your app.
Yeah.
Like I will actually mention this. The question is, you're asking what is the best way to perform it. Is why are you performing the background services? What in the background are you trying to do? Answer those two questions. Like give us a bit of context. Re-ask your question with those two things, and I can help you answer this question. Because a lot of the time, what you're trying to do, you can move to the server side, run it remotely whenever you like, because you own the servers. And then once you get a result that the user should be involved with, you send them a push notification down to the phone, and their phone goes beep beep. Oh, this thing happened, or this person sent you a message, or whatever, right? So that's really what you should be doing. You should need to be pushing this background processing or whatever you're trying to do away from the app, away from the user's device to the server. Do it all there, and then notify the user when it's available. This conserves their battery, right? Like it's like a handheld device is not designed to be on all the time, right? Literally die within an hour. Like there's only so much. Whereas something plugged into the mains, a big server in the cloud can run lots of stuff. So yeah, think about where you're doing your processing.
Yep.
Can we change the theme of docs generated by DarkDocs? Actually, I know that you can inject code and you can make changes. I just don't know how because I've never done it. So I know it's possible because that's exactly what Tim Sneath did to improve his documentation when he was first doing things, if I remember rightly. So I would go say, look at the Win32 package source code and see what was done in there. Oh, look, I literally just jumped into the repo. Oh, that's not the repo.
Ooh.
Let's see, share screen. I just jumped into the repo here. And right here, he says, show on screen. There we go. .doc_options.yaml. And there you go. Doc categories. Category order, show and documented categories. Node C. Ignore. I don't know. So it sounds to me like there's this doc options that you can look into. But Google that. There you go.
I bet if you look at package Dart doc, you'll figure out all the things you need to know.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, look, I just thought I'd quickly Google it, and oh, he says, Flutter dot sass.
Yep.
Here's the official Flutter one. Tool snippet command. I don't know. There's apparently lots of various things.
Yep.
Yeah, document generator. Literally has documentation for the documenter.
Right.
Link structure, writing documentation, examples, advanced features. There you go.
Dart doc options, just like we were looking at. Yeah.
Categories. There you
They're
go.
the fields.
All explained. Fav icon footer. There you go. Inject HTML. Header. Inject some HTML.
Wow.
So yes, in short, yes, you can.
Yes.
Read the doc here. Read the docs to make the docs.
Yes. Read the Dart doc. Dart.
Yeah, exactly. David says, I recently came across environments. I don't understand it fully. I thought back to some apps I've seen, 2-in-1 app. Okay.
People are always wanting like a flavor or something so that they can have like an admin app or a paid app and a free app and stuff like that. So talk to us about how that's done.
So specifically, we talk about flavors as being like, let's say you had a version of your app that you sold on the Play Store for $5.99 and it was ad free, right? Then that's your paid version. Then you have a freemium version, which is like you can download it for free, but it shows adverts. Now, these are two versions. These are flavors. These are not environments per se, right? But these are flavors, and this allows you to do this. Now, I need to debug the free one. I also need to debug the paid one, right? Now they are environments. I'm in the environment that I'm testing the free one, and it's environment that I'm testing the paid one is a debug environment. That's what you'd say. Now, environments can be many. You can have 10 dozen different environments because it's about your configuration, right? And that's what environment means. It's about how you configure to work with this. So most apps normally have 2 environments. That is their dev and their production. So the dev one gives more debugging information and stuff like that. And then the production one just removes all the debugging and it's like there and it logs to like Crashlytics when you're in the production environment. And it's just a flag. It just says, I'm running in debug, I'm running in production, right? And then you can adjust your app's behavior based on that environment. You can also inject environments. That is, provided that environment, you could say connect to a different server. So when you're debugging and you're developing, you connect to your local machine or to some debug server. So you can delete people's accounts and not actually delete the real accounts, right? And then when it's connected to production, it actually works with real production data. And these are the kind of things that you want to do. Now, a good example of this is another environment that's quite common called staging, or UAT is another name for this.
That's the second half of the question.
Oh, that's the second half. Like an app that offers buying and selling, and they're 2 different apps, usually different code base. In Flutter environment, a good case for building this kind of apps from one. Yes. So you can build it from one code base and start up in 2 different ways and have 2 different apps if you want to, and just have 2 different features and folders, buying and selling. There's a bunch of ways of doing this. You can also have 2 packages and your actual apps package and import the different packages depending on, or build like just a buying app or the selling app. And they both have a common package that they both use for like all the common widgets, right? But I will just continue about the environments here. So another common one is like staging or UAT. That's like testing. And basically what you do in the UAT environment is you might have 3 copies of the database. You have your production, your dev, and staging, one for each environment. And then when you need to, let's say a production bug happens with deleting someone's account, well, you can't just go around deleting accounts from production, right? That would be real people's accounts. So what you do is you duplicate the entire database from production into staging, and then you can delete accounts all you want from staging because you're not really affecting the production database. That still has those accounts. Then if something goes wrong and you want to try again, you just copy it over again from production to staging, and you can try again. So this can also work with just 2. So you can just work production and dev, and you just overwrite your dev with the production data. But normally dev might hold just like test accounts and accounts with long names and short names and different sets of data so you can try things out. But yeah, now hopefully that kind of explains that. All right. How to interact and test native and web views during integration tests. I understand it's currently not possible, but any recommendations or pointers? Okay. Depends on what platform you're trying to test on. So
Yeah.
I'm going to assume Android because I know that very well. So in Android, you can do it. Ta-da! What you're looking for is a package. I think we say this every week. It's called Espresso. Espresso is the debug system. It is a package that exists. So if I could find it, okay, this is it. I'll pop it in the chat as well. The link. So provides bindings for Espresso tests for Flutter Android apps. Basically, in the middle of your test, you can then call out and call the Espresso specifics, and vice versa. So you can like test your, you can combine your testing of Android native and your testing of Flutter. So that's the kind of thing that you're looking for. It being web, it's a web view is just a standard Android view, no different. I have not tried putting it through tests. I don't know if it will work with Espresso, but I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. Please let me know. I'm interested to know if there's any problems. What do you recommend for dependency injection for non-UI classes? Someone suggested getX, but I'm not confident. Okay, I think they're mistaken. It's called Get It.
Yeah, yeah.
So someone in the community, that is, oh goodness, Thomas Burkhart. Can we go in there for a second? Oh, Get It. May Get It, which has been around a lot longer than getX, and is a Flutter community known package and everything else. And this is a dependency injection package, a service locator, and this does a wonderful job at setting up dependencies between things that are unrelated to widgets. This could just be used in the Dart app. It doesn't have to be Flutter, anything at all. So there you go. That's what you want. Get it. Pop link. Is there anything to add? Sorry, I'm just rushing through these. Free for speak up, Rando, if you think you've got something to add to this.
Yeah, no. That was good. RiverPod also does effectively dependency injection. So I mean, it actually pretty much any state management package has to, in order to be able to inject the dependency to rebuild a widget when something changes, and that's the whole definition of a state management package in Flutter.
How to limit the number of images that a user can pick through Image Picker, or is there a suggestion you have for this? Is there a way to limit the number of images that a user can pick through? Which pick through all their images. I mean, I'm not sure you would want to limit that. What, limit to the most recent 10 pictures they took with their camera? I'm not sure I get what you're asking.
That's like total number of images, it sounds like. So you can pick 10 different images, and he wants to limit
I see what you mean. So
that
he's saying he wants,
4.
he only wants like there might be 100 pictures on the device. Someone could choose all 100 pictures, but he wants to limit it to 3. Now, the answer is you let them pick however many they want, and when it gets back to your app, you take the first 3 from the result. And then you tell them only the first 3, you give them a little warning on the screen saying the first 3 have been used. That's it. That's how you solve that one. I don't think, does Image Picker let you do multiple? Because there was a point where it didn't let you do multiple things, but I'm guessing it does now. No, it just, it does. Pick multi-image. They just added that. That's a new one. All right. So that's why I would suggest, because it's outside of your control, the whole idea of this is that it's outside your control. If you're trying to do it on, you could do your own plugin, and then you could start doing things there. Now, if you go look at, I'm going to just show you this, just so this might be helpful to other people. So here, this is the Image Picker package. I'm going to go to GitHub here, and it's taking me to the repo. Does this have the Android implementation? No, it's separate. Let's go up. Android. And inside the Android implementation, we can see how it does it. And when you get to pick an image, it does get image path, pick multiple images, get multiple image. It runs this function here, max width, height, image quality. That runs this method. Oh, I'm in the dark code. I'm in the dark code. That's not helpful. I want the Android code. So this is going to go go into here, and it's a delegate. Let me just have a look at the delegate. Java, yay! So here we go. So this is choose multiple images from gallery. That's what I want. So this is where it sends the request, and this is what actually one of the users earlier was asking about in the chat. Raf, he was saying, how does he register for an activity result? And that's part of this. This is Android specific, but if you notice here, the intent that's firing is called get content, action get content, and you can specify extra allow multiple true images, and then it starts this. Now this starts a separate application to get your images, and it returns the result back to your application using this code. This is how you identify it back. Anyway, this is the key: get action, get content. So if we went to the Android documentation, d.android.com, and then we search for this, we're going to be able to get opening files, common intents, and storage, and various things. Retrieve a specific file type, use this intent, and blah, blah, blah. It explains it all. From Android 4.3, you can select multiple files, and then you can add them to clip data. And there you go. So the only things that this action specifies is that you can have these two extra parameters, local only and allow multiple. It doesn't let you limit how many. So the platform doesn't let you do that. There you go. That's the answer to that. Now, there is another way, and that is like some other apps. They show all your photos within their app. If you do that, you have to ask the permission of the user, and you're essentially receiving all of the user's photos in their whole phone. This is not a desired thing for privacy concerns. Most people don't want to allow that, which means they can't pick photos with your app. So I'd say stick with the image picker. And it keeps things. It's a lot. You have to implement an image picker yourself and all this kind of stuff. Just use the image picker, limit the result, and then tell the user you've taken the first three only, and then just display them on the screen, the little thumbnails that you get.
Yeah,
done.
Yeah. Good.
Can we make Flutter web admin panel for user management, creation of new users, removing with Firebase? Yes.
Yes. Well, maybe you can't, but some of us can.
So no, we can. So I think that the point here, the open we. So what you're looking for is a package, and I'm not gonna lie, it's not straightforward. I'm not gonna lie, right? But it's this Google APIs package, and there's another package called Google APIs Auth. I'll give you both of those. There's various ways. You can use the Firebase stuff to get a token. So use Firebase, or you can use the Firebase auth package, get the token from the logged in user, and then you can use that to create a auto-authorizing client from one of these. And then there's an API, and in the API it's called Identity Toolkit. Google Identity Toolkit API v3. This is it here. And inside the API, and you'll see in here, Identity Toolkit, this one here, this one here. And here's all the methods. Look, delete account, download account, emails, link, sign in, create auth URL, get account info, get public, whatever it is, get OB code, recapture, reset password, send verification. All those account things that you want to do, you can just call these functions. So sign up new user, boom. You call this function. Here's the request. You provide all the fields for the request, whatever they are. There you go. Some of these are optional, but it's all in the documentation.
Yes.
So if I go back to, you can just search Identity Toolkit documentation. I'm sure they link it onto a new one here. But anyway, but the one time I can't find it, you can just Google Identity Toolkit. And then I was looking at the APIs database. I know that.
You're Googling for Google things. Doesn't that cause the universe to fold in on itself? No.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So here's this it. Yeah, here's an example of the REST API. Sign with a custom token. I don't know. The one time. There's a bunch of them, right? Oh, here you go. That's what it's for. Sign in with email and password. There you go. So you can also just call the REST API yourself. You can just make an HTTP client and call this, right, with an API key that you generate, or you can sign in with your credentials. Anyway, there you go. So it tells you what parameters and things you need. It's all there.
Cool.
I'll pop this in the chat. Yeah. It's not.
So I've said this in the chat. I've said this in the chat already, but we're kind of getting close to where we have to cut off questions just to make sure that we can get to everybody's question that we take before the end of the show. So we're getting really close to that. Get your last minute questions in right now before we do
with a queue in front of them.
With a queue in front of them, yes. Helps me out tremendously. Thank you.
And we'll put them in a queue. Ha ha ha.
And we'll put them in a queue, yes.
I called emit some state inside a loop that calls some API. Everything works fine, but the state didn't emit for the last iteration of the loop. What's the catch here? Am I missing something? It sounds like you are.
Question. Yeah.
Well, it is. So this is emitting from a qubit, I'm sure, or the underlying stuff from a block. It might be that the two states match. So check your state has an equals override. Because if the two states match, it won't emit it. So verify that your equals and your hash code generate functions inside your some state actually make a different value for the two states. You can also just compare them. So take your second to last and your last states and just do an equals with a print statement, see if it's true. Because if it's true and they're different parameters, well, that's bad. You need to go fix that. That's probably what your problem is.
Yeah, likely.
Yeah, I would assume that's what it is. It's a very weird one don't get me wrong, but I think we can't debug that any further than that without seeing code. So
yeah, hard to debug that as one line in a chat. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Is there doc like Android for Flutter to share best practices to create the right architecture for an app? Yes, there's tons of. So you're saying, is there documentation like Android for Flutter to share best practices? There's tons of people that have written up these things in the community. Just go around. I couldn't put you on one specific thing, but maybe the highly subjective roadmap to Flutter. I'll post it the link in the chat. Maybe that will give you sort of some guidance into where to go and how to do things. Oops, wrong button. Yeah, there it is. So I've put this in the chat. It's Flutter roadmap, and it's the highly subjective Flutter roadmap. And you follow this, and it'll get you sort of it's a learning map with links and resources and fun things. So yeah, that will get you somewhere on the right track, I'd say.
Yeah,
but no, I don't think we should do so. I mean, we did try originally trying to do like some best practices and things. Maybe we should get everyone in the community together and sort of get some people to input on some best practices. I know.
Yeah, we could do that.
No, not a bad idea. It's something I think that would help the community.
Yeah.
Using Go Router, there is one case where one of my colleagues wants to call push and remove until, but it's not working. Right. Well, that's because push and remove until is on normal Navigator 1.0 and not Navigator 2, which is what Go Router uses. So push and remove until just won't work with Go Router. So no, you can't do that. If you want to remove everything on the stack, you navigate, you do push go. The context has a go function, and you just say go to, and then you give it the route back to where you want to go to, and it will clear the stack to that point. And that's how it works. So you just say go to this place. So I don't know how you're doing your routing and how you name your routes, but basically, let's say you're on. Let's see if we can do a bit of something here. Hang on. Share. And let's see, is this going to come through? Let's make it bigger. Yeah. So if you had a route like A, B, let's say, I don't know. users 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. Right, comments, blah, 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 right? And you want to go back to you want to push, essentially do push and remove until, right? So you want to go, let's say you want to go to users 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slash post, whatever, right? Then you just literally go to this and it will automatically work out that these two routes are the users, this is on top, and it will pop the comment route and push the post route for you. That's the whole idea, right? But it's about how you name them, right? And then you give your route names, users, user ID, comment ID, and then it will extract those fields for you. And as long as these match, then you shouldn't have a problem, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully that kind of explains it a bit better. Seeing it on the screen.
If it doesn't, come back next week and ask the question again, but a different way. Always change the way you ask the question, then we'll answer different parts of it. Can
we build interactive widgets like Google Notes widget with Flutter? It may be stupid. I'm a college student. I think you mean desktop widgets, I would call them. These are all home screen widgets. So yes, you can. How's that? But the the thing is, anything you can do on a native platform, you can do with Flutter, right? It's just how much are you doing with Flutter, right? So you're still going to have to obey the rules in the way Android does its desktop widgets. But then when they tap on something, when they change something, you can have it call out to Flutter code. But when you interact with a platform that way, you're moving completely out of Flutter, and it becomes really complicated. So I'm letting you know you can do it, but it's not easy, right? But the thing is, it's not easy when you do it in Android or in iOS anyway, right? I was doing a package once for this, and I never finished it. So apologies, because that would have made your life a lot easier. However, saying that, there might be a package. Hang on, let's see. I seem to remember. I seem to remember. Was it home widget or something? Home widget. This is for iOS. So this is a plugin that lets you deal with home screen widgets on Android and iOS. There you go. But it does have limitations, and I don't know how good it is. So you've been warned. That's all I can say. And it's complicated stuff. But hopefully that might get you in the right direction. I'll pop that link in the chat.
I think we should take the next question from the end of the list right now.
Go for it. All right. What's that?
Oh, here. Let me put it up. Okay. You got it. Yeah. Let's answer this one.
Every week. At this time, every week.
Right.
So there you go.
9 a.m. Google time, which will change in a couple of weeks, and it'll be 2 weeks off of changing in the rest of the world.
Yeah, so it's 5 p.m. here in the UK, and then we have daylight savings. So it's gonna change by an hour somewhere along the way, back and forth over the next few weeks. But for more or less, it's the same time every Wednesday, 5 p.m. UK time and 9 a.m. Google time. Right. Just curious how. Yeah, I think that answers that one. Right, moving on. Damian asks, what is the best way to handle Flutter monorepos, e.g. multiple packages? We mentioned this earlier. Melos is the answer. So I'll pop the link in the chat and move on, because we have answered this. If you want to go back and watch the stream, you will find more details, but Melos package is in the chat. Osman Bah says, how to work with MySQL with Dart server. Use the MySQL package. Sadly enough, I would suggest you use Postgres.
Yes.
Postgres has better support when it comes to the packages that are on pub. But I literally look, MySQL to search. I've used this one before. So 15 days ago, MySQL client, perfect, sounds lovely. Oh, this is on the server. Well, that's actually what it is. You're still a client of the MySQL service. This is correct for your server side as well. But yeah, it supports transactions, supports a lot of things. I don't know how good it is, but yeah, you can create a MySQL connection, I guess. and then execute statements. There you go, with parameters. Prepare, connect, close. I mean, it's very raw, but you know, it says it has.
And if you decide to take Simon's advice and use Postgres, please look into Supabase, because they've been doing amazing things with wrapping stuff up in Postgres and have a service, a platform as a service to actually host a Postgres instance for you. And it has real-time delivery. They're really trying to be Firebase without the as an open source package or open source project. So take a look at Supabase. Pretty incredible.
When it comes to the SQL stuff, out of the two MySQL, I've always been using MySQL for years, and I'm also used Postgres on and off. And recently, I've favored more Postgres because of the just the support and the extensions and just the way you work with it seems to be better. So I would recommend this. Postgres actually supports and this client package supports what's called the JSON column type. This means that you can use Postgres as a document object store. So you actually, which is really, really great. You have this, I think it's called document in the API, I can't remember. I forget. Anyway, I'm thinking it was someone else's API, sorry. Anyway, there's a JSON B column type, and I don't think this is related. No, but yeah, you can just use that, and when you get back the data, it will be completely structured as a map, and then you can take that map in Dart, put in your from JSON on a model object, and that's it. You've got your object back from the database exactly as you wrote it. So it's really helpful when it comes to making something quick and easy with a database without having to deal with data with rows and columns and all stuff. So if you just want like an object store and to relate those objects together, you can do all that with Postgres, and you can actually make keys. You can actually make indexes and constraints on keys within JSON structures. As long as you use the JSON B column type, you can do gal indexes and stuff. Anyway, go look it up. Lots of resources online. Highly recommend it. Anyway, MySQL, use the MySQL client. There you
go. Yep.
There's also Postgres Pool, which is a separate package, or PG Pool, and that lets you do PG Pool, and that lets you. It will open up. You can set a limit, and it will open up multiple connections. And once your query is finished, it will release that connection back to the pool. So you're a really optimal thing. I don't know if there's one for MySQL. Go look for it, because that's, if you're dealing with a database, especially from the server side, you need pooling of your connection resources.
Yeah, definitely.
Do everything serial on one connection would be really slow. You just you could do your own pooling. It's super simple. You just have like an array of connections. Limit your array.
Or get the Supabase Docker set up and just drop it on-prem. You can do that anywhere you want and host it for free, or you can use their very reasonable prices for hosting it with them. Supabase, just check it out.
Okay, what is the best way to preload data from Firebase before app launch? So your app has to be launched. So I think you mean before you see a certain screen of your app, in which case, just put a widget in your hierarchy, and it waits a future builder that waits for your future to go download the data from Firestore. That's that simple. And you can just play a spinner or your splash screen, and once it's finished downloading, you'll get your async snapshot on your future builder will be updated, and then you can display the actual app and return back like the material app widget and have the rest of the app go. So yeah, it's super simple. Just future builder.
Someone actually commented that you can also use run app twice to get something started while it's visible on the screen while you're doing an async call, and then do run app again.
Yeah, and a lot of people do some preparation work inside your main function. You should make asynchronous. Both of those options are valid, and I want to just caveat them though, because you need to have proper error handling in those. That means you capture, you do try catch, you catch it, because if something throws in your main function, that's it. Your app is dead. It will just crash, and every time your app starts up, it's going to crash in main. It's going to crash in main. No one can get past the beginning of your app to clear their accounts, reset something, right? So it's very critical that your app startup goes flawlessly, and you catch errors. If there's an error, for example, apps that I've built in the past, if there's an error in like loading the app state from disk and it can't load it for whatever reason, clear the app state, That's it. And then restart it and then shut down the app. When they open it up again, it will start with no app state. They've been logged out, sure, but at least they can continue using your app and they're not broken forever, right? So that's the kind of thing you have to be careful of, right? So anyway, but going off on a separate tangent here, but yeah, you need to make sure that you do proper error catching if you're going to do it outside of the widget tree, which you should do anyway. But yeah, just to say.
We've got 9 questions in the queue. We're at the bottom of the hour. We're going to go ahead and cut off the questions now. Come back next week. If you didn't get your question answered this week, we still, like I said, we still have 9 questions we're answering. And
I might spend a little bit of time just looking at those. Those quick questions I asked. Right. Anyway, I want to make Spotify-like app. I don't want an entire decrypt audio file to exist at any moment. The file is to be played. I want to decrypt it chunk by chunk and play it. Okay, so first of all, here's the point. Why don't you want to decrypt the entire file? For what purpose? Is it to protect the file? Because if it is, you're doing it wrong. Right? So so the fact of the matter is your app has a portion of space on an Android or iOS device that its private files can be. The user cannot get to those files. They are private to the app, meaning you can decrypt them there and the user can't copy them and access them whatsoever, right? Right. So that's you use file provider and what you want to do if you're doing this temporary stuff, you do get cache directory. And that's when you put those. So if the user does a clear storage, my storage is getting too big, and they do clear storage on their app settings, it will clear that directory, right? So then you can go, when you try and load that file, if it doesn't exist, download it again and decrypt it, right? So that's what I'd say to that. The other one is you can encrypt files. What you're asking for, is it CBC mode? So
one of those.
Probably what you want is AES CBC. It's the AES, first of all, is your best, fastest encryption mechanism, and that's very comparable and very secure for your audio needs. Okay, so AES. Second of all, when you encrypt it in chunks, in blocks, and that's a mode that you get into. If I remember right, it's CBC mode. Now, there is a package called Crypto in Dart, which will do this. If I can find it, I will bring it up on the screen.
Isn't that Pointy Castle?
No, there is Pointy Castle as well. But like you can do I think it was Crypto Library you can do AES with. I'm being shown up as a fool now because I can't see it there. So maybe it's Pointy Castle. So you can do your hashing with crypto. I think, yeah. So Pointy Castle, by the way, is a well-known
stolen from Java.
Is a very well-known package. It's not. It wasn't just in Java, but yeah.
Bouncy Castle. It was Bouncy Castle in Java. Yeah.
Yeah. So there we go. So yeah, block cipher modes, and what you're looking for is I'd say AES CBC. I think it is. You can go look it up and read up all the stuff from Pointy Castle and how to do it. But what you're asking for is saying, as you download them, you need to send out each packet of decrypted audio to the audio player, and that's kind of you're being asked by the audio player to provide that. So it's a lot of hard work, and I don't see for what purpose, to be honest. If it's a space thing, sure, stream it, right? You have to deal with streaming and streaming data back and forth live, especially audio, which has to be timed. You obviously get blips and clocks in your audio because you haven't given the audio in a certain amount of time. Can be problematic. There is, I think it's the audio play. Is it the audio players package? I'm gonna have to go check this. I think it was the audio players package that lets you shift over. I might have to correct myself. I can't remember. I think it was this one. On certain platforms, I can't remember which. Don't ask me which. But it allows you to provide an audio source, if I remember right, as a stream of bytes or something. As a this one. This is the bytes up front. There is. I'm pretty sure there's one which like it requests the data as it goes. And
just
then
audio.
It might be just audio. There's one of the audio play
Yeah.
libraries that lets you like stream audio data. But again,
Yeah.
it's so temperamental. You've been warned. We'll
Yeah.
leave it at that.
All right. Wait, I think we did this one. Sorry, it was duplicate.
Am I missing something? Duplicates? No.
Yep.
Mad. I had a problem with Google Maps package in our Flutter project. Showed that exception caught by a widgets library that following the session was map widget. I don't know what you want to say.
What's the exception? Yeah, what's the exception?
I mean,
it's probably the usual build doesn't have a render yet, or
it could be that, or it said this is building when it's trying to build a map widget. But that could just be that you provided the wrong parameters to the map widget. Like raise an issue on the Google Maps package repo, right? The plugin, the Flutter plugins repo. Or Flutter
Take this to Discord. Or Stack Overflow with the full pasting of your error message. We can't do it in one line in chat. We're not that smart. Well, maybe we are. I don't know.
Not enough context.
There we go.
A package to open the app through a link. I've not done it yet. What do you recommend? Thanks. What you're calling is called deep links. Okay. And you don't need a package to open your app from deep link. It's how you configure your app on Android and iOS to support deep linking. There's a lot of talk and a lot of instructions online. Another name for deep links goes as app links. Is another name given to this feature of mobile apps. There is a package that lets you receive the incoming app links, and it's called. It's gonna skip my brain again. Hang on. I will find it. I will find it for you. Hang on. Bear with me. Keep them occupied. Dance for the crowd. Oh, where is it gone? Hang on. I will find it.
Type faster.
And it stopped dancing.
I know.
Where's it gone?
So you're looking for a package that you put in with like the router to send it to the right place.
Yeah,
when the deep link comes in.
I literally had
Unilinks.
That's the one. There's a few of them. But Unilinks is the one that I recommend. And brings
not seeing that. There we go. Okay.
So Unilinks is the package that I would recommend for this, and it supports what's called universal links on iOS, and they're called app links on Android. You can use HTTP links; they don't have to be HTTP. And basically, that's how you configure and explains it here on deep links or app links, depending on how you want to do it. Deep links are a custom URL scheme, and app links use HTTPS URL scheme. That's the only difference. And then you pop these things in your manifest, and then explains a bit more. I won't go into it. And then the same goes for iOS. You have to register your hostname in your entitlements file. You can do it through Xcode as well. All the instructions are in here and how it all works. You'll also need to publish some files on your website if you want to use app links or universal links with HTTP, so that otherwise you could accept links from anyone's website. And there's a whole bit around that. But basically, inside your Android app, inside your Flutter app, start again, you can do get initial link, and that's a get initial URL, and that's the way you opened up with, and then you can listen to the link stream, and then while your app is running, it gets another deep link, you can action it. Now you need to do both of these things. I have seen banking apps not get this right. They like authorize with your banking app, and my app is already open and it doesn't pop up with anything. I have to shut the app down and reopen it to get the deep link to come and work through, which is ridiculous. So make sure you handle both situations. The link to the package is in the chat.
And I think this is also, correct me if I'm wrong, Simon, but I think this is also something that one of my apps can use URL launch or URL, whatever it's called, to open up another of my apps. I actually talk back and forth that way.
Yeah. So URL Launcher, which is a Flutter package that comes as part of a first-party Flutter package by the Flutter team.
Yep.
I'll bring it open on screen here. You can use this to then launch a URL with a custom schema. So instead of using HTTPS, you can put my other app or whatever you called it in your other app they registered, and then the two apps can open each other up and send data back and forth, basically.
Yeah, very cool.
So that's that. All right.
Okay. Next, maybe. Yes.
What about Kotlin multi-platform? Could it be the next alternative to Flutter, especially that Kotlin is fully native, especially the problem with material design look on iOS with Flutter? I don't know what you mean by that last point. No. Material design look on iOS with Flutter. You don't have to use material design on iOS with Flutter. So there's not a problem.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's that. You can just use iOS style widgets.
There's platform widgets.
And it'll be the same thing with Kotlin multi-platform, right? You're going to have to do the native bits for each one. I think the thing is, I don't know enough about it to really comment. I'm going to be honest, I don't. I need to look into it myself. I haven't had the time. But even with Kotlin multi-platform, you're going to have to know the API sets. You're going to have to know details about both of the platforms, right? It's just a language. Kotlin is the language that works on both platforms, meaning that you still need to know all of the iOS stuff. You still need to know all the Android stuff. It's a different thing to Flutter completely. It's not an alternative to say, but it's still cross-platform or multi-platform.
It is nice that Flutter has some competition, though, because it'll keep the guys in Mountain View honest, and moving forward.
Well, the competition always it brings out the best, right? It can bring out the best and the worst in people, but bring out the best in terms of this competition. So there's always you can see what someone else is doing. Oh, that's a brilliant idea. We should do that, and so on and so forth. So the reason why Kotlin multi-platform exists, as game where it's going, is because of Flutter in part. It's competition. So,
okay.
Phantom, is there a way to block some features in some countries on Android platform? Yes. So you can get. So first of all, you obviously can get the location of the device from GPS coordinates using the location plugin. However, obviously they can deny that, in which case you can tell them you can't use your app, right? There's obviously, if it's using it, you can use the free RAS plugin we spoke about earlier to say if they're in an emulator or not, so you can deny them from faking their location. And therefore, you would use the real GPS. Now, that's there's obviously privacy concerns and stuff. GPS is you can use a coarse GPS location, so it's quite broad, but still, all you actually care about is the country level, which is huge. So there's two other bits of information you can get. You can use, I think the device info package will give you this. At least you can definitely get it from the operating system and do your own platform channel for sure. It's called the MNC code and MCC code. That is the mobile country code and the mobile network code. These come from the cell phone provider, and it tells you what country the person is in. So it's MCC and MNC, and you can go look these up. These are freely available, and you can get these at any point without any permissions, as far as I know. And you can just go get the mobile country code from the device, and that'll tell you where it's from. There's also a SIM mobile country code and mobile network code, because you might buy your SIM card. Let's say it's obviously a SIM card phone. No, there's phones without SIM cards, but you buy it in, let's say I buy my SIM card in America and I'll put in a UK phone and I'm using it in the UK. The MCC is the mobile country code for the device is going to be UK, and the mobile country code for the SIM is going to be America, just to explain those two different points. So you can go get those from the platform. Now, there is also another way of getting the country code, and I forget what it is. Oh, from the IP address as well. So you can actually make a network request. There's plenty of IP block ownership libraries out there. It's GeoIP libraries is what you're looking for. And if you have an API that you're using with your app, then you can make a request from the app to the API. The API gets the IP address of the remote connection, puts it through the database, and sends back the country. And then voila, you know what country the person's from. And they're accurate to country level for sure. I wouldn't say they're accurate within city sort of levels, but they're definitely accurate to a country level. There's actually here's something for you, Randall. You like this. I don't know what the very center state is that there is, and there's a center state, I think it's like Wyoming, I think in the middle of America. I don't know off the top of my head, right? There's a rural farm in the middle of nowhere.
0-0.
Zero,
or the default for something.
The center coordinates of the United States bounding box puts it on this farm in the middle of nowhere, and these people get the police, the FBI knocking down their door all the time because their data, because the GeoIP databases point to that location because it's the center location. It's on. I think there was a thing on one of these Vox news networks. Oh my god! It was like I was like, that's when technology goes wrong. I would just move house. Honestly, that's just
right. Or sell tickets.
What was it?
I'm looking it up too. I think I know what one you're talking about. At least the article.
I'm find this because this is like. You know, I'm not. I think I can't remember what news company had this, but yeah, there was.
It's MaxMind lawsuit. How a quiet Kansas home wound up with 600 million.
That's the one. That's the one.
Yeah, the Washington Post. Let's see if I can. I'll put it in our chat.
Stick the link in the private chat. I'll share it. Yeah. So,
right.
yeah.
Coming there. Okay, go.
I'll share this in the
yeah.
I sorry, this kind of completely off topic, but it's just funny. It's like, yeah, where is it? Because MaxMind is one of those companies that provides the data, and they say they got this like accuracy and all this kind of stuff, but they where is it? Yeah, let's share it. This is the way. It's quite infuriating. I feel like I'm quite infuriated by this. Like the fact that they got this so wrong. And basically, in the center of America, it points exactly to this family home in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, look. More than 70 years later, technology that made an 82-year-old lives there. And those that rent the house, our digital horror story. I mean, it's ridiculous. And then they're like saying they've got like lawsuits out on them and all these things because they put these like coordinates and the address they got from a database into like this software, it spits it out, they stick it in lawsuits and things. Anyway, so they're obviously like they're suing the company that's responsible, which they damn well should, and they should win because that is, I mean, the amount of heartache and headache around that is ridiculous. Anyway, moving on. If I want to make Dart my server-side stack replace PHP, what are the missing things? What's the missing things I will face? I'm not sure I can answer that because it depends on what you're doing in your PHP stack. I think I would really like to answer this, right? And I'd love to do a show on this. I could show you how to do all sorts. So leave a comment on this video afterwards, right? And with a list of maybe all the features you're looking for, and we can explain about what you can and can't do and how you achieve them.
And there's more and more solutions every day. There's like ServerPod now and Frog and a bunch of other things. Of course, the core shelf is still there doing useful things.
All these packages are trying to be shelf compatible, which gives you the most sort of flexibility when you're doing server-side libraries. So Shelf is this middleware software that is built by the Dart team. And there's Shelf Static, Shelf Proxy, Shelf Router, Shelf Plus, WebSockets, Multipart, you name it, it's been done. I think, was it Simon Binder? I think it was Simon Binder that was doing a bunch of, no, it wasn't him. There was someone recently, Shelf Hot Reload. It's going to be the one time, I'm not going to find it, but there was someone that was doing a bunch of new, the name escapes me and it's going to piss me off. Gzip. I mean, like virtual.
No.
I mean, the thing is, it's so easy to add your own as well. This is just awesome. Like that's encrypted.
Oh wow, that's great.
Yeah, Shelf Let's Encrypt. You just hook it up, and then that's it. You've got your SSL certificates all issued, free, automatic, and renewals, and everything. It's like
wow.
You can't go wrong with these things. Like Shelf Secure Cookie. I mean, you just type it in there, and you've got everything. I'm trying to think. For the life of me, it was. Well, I know what it was. Content validated. Here's one. So this one that I saw recently. So Shelf Helmet. This is great. So port of Helmet for helps you to secure your Dart Shelf and Frog applications within various headers So basically, you put this in front, and then it will do a bunch of like the cross-origin protections and all the extra headers that stop you from getting like spammed and various other things. So this is really helpful. There's also shelf enforced SSL. So this does your there's some extra headers that are sent to enforce SSL connections. HSTS standard, and then there's also content length validator, which is another great server-side component. You put this in there, and it will make sure the requests, as they come in, as soon as they reach your content length limit, that's it, they get kicked off. So someone tries to send you like a 64 megabyte upload request to your server, it will just kick them off, right? And you can make this, and because it's middleware, you can put this in anywhere. So only your APIs are limited to 1 kilobyte per request. Your uploads are limited to this and that and the other, and you can do all that kind of stuff, right? So there's a bunch of protection mechanisms, various other things that you can do. And I think the key here is that I think that just to remark on this point, you're doing Dart on the server side. You're becoming the entire application stack. When you're doing PHP, you're just using a application on top of Apache or on top of a web server technology. Your app is becoming the web server. You can get rid of Apache. You can get rid of whatever the Nginx or Caddy or whatever the web server software is, because you're doing it in Dart. That gives you more flexibility, and you can limit down, and you can ship less in your server components, right?
And you can deploy that in auto-scaling cloud too, which is really nice. Yeah. So you could have a web server that has multiple instances that talk to multiple instances of Postgres behind them, and you could have a fully scaling solution that scales up and down with appropriate money increments at the right times.
Which is nice. Let's move on. Is it good to integrate a game made in Unity 3 inside of Flutter? Consider game performance. It makes no difference to the game performance to integrate it inside Flutter. There you go. But yes, it's good. So Unity, it's just a native component. It won't like it's like having a texture in a portion of your screen or the whole screen. It makes no difference. It's still just a standard widget that's being used. And Jeanmartin, a package to open the application through a link.
We did that, I think.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Randall. So, yeah, that was the Euro launcher, right?
Yeah,
so,
right. We did that.
Yeah. So,
yeah, just different view on that. Hey, we got all the way through, and it's still a few minutes before the top of the hour, which is good. Oh, I just wanted to mention on the shelf thing, one of the things you skimmed by on shelf was shelf hot reload. One of the things I've discovered recently is that Dart can do hot reload if it's set up properly. And this is really amazing. Yeah. So you can have a Dart program that mutates itself based on loading more code in. Very, very nice.
Package, yeah, there's an awesome package called Hot Reloader. Let me just load it up here. So yes, Hot Reloader. There you go. Hot Reloader is automatic code hot reload for your Dart projects. So this is just Dart only. But this you run your Dart code with enable VM service, and then hot reload will hook into that, and then it will call the read after reload and before reload functions. I think there's like a reload. I forget. There's a reload function that gets called when it happens, and then you can restart whatever you want and recreate whatever you want, and it will just load in the new code. And that's also how shelf hot reload works. It actually uses the hot reloader package to do that.
Yeah, nice.
But again, the idea is that it restarts the server listening, as you can see, with hot reload, create server, and then it will it sends back this feature, and then once it restarts, it will recreate your server again. So it's really great for when you're developing web server stuff. Yep. So I think I'm gonna just have a quick drink, and then there was those two questions.
Yes.
Do we want to spend a little time? Do I want to spend a little time? Do you have to go, Randall?
I got no hard meeting until about 2 hours from now, so I'm good to.
Right, we won't go for that long, but I'm going to go for a little bit long. Oh, look, John's like, oh, you're still here? You're still online? Oh my god! John, do you want to join us, John? Join us. Yeah. So we're going to do some a little bit of live coding, a little bit of exploration for a second before we finish up today, since I'm running over. Yeah. If you want to join in, you've got the. I think you've got the link. It's in the usual spot. So yeah, feel free to drop on by. So I'm gonna stop sharing that and just get a little thing hooked up here. Bear with me one moment.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 da, 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 da.
So
So while you're doing that, I've been looking at RiverPod 2 and the new release, and it's so much more interesting and cool. So I'm doing a talk for one of the GDGs coming up soon on RiverPod 2, how it's different. And I will link to that here when I finish it and have a recording of it. But
nice.
Yeah, it's what I really like is first they've gone to a builder for being able to do a family. Families were always tricky because you had to get a single value that was of an equatable type. And you had to get that right, or else you ended up creating millions of RiverPod providers that didn't talk to each other. And now it's done as terms of a function that takes arbitrary arguments and it builds the right equatable below there for you. Very nice. Given that Remy also did freezed, I think he understands how to build a proper equatable for multiple parameters. And so this is going to be a nice setup. Definitely a nice setup.
So, right, let's see if this works.
Did you find what you were looking for? I was trying to stall. Did you find it?
Oh, no, yeah. I mean, I'm just giving you one second.
You don't listen to me. I'm talking to them.
Where? What? How?
Oh, look.
Hey.
Hi, John. Good to see you again.
Well, welcome to the crazy house.
Yeah.
We lost Randall. Oh, there's Randall. He's back. All right.
Yep. I'm here.
So I'm going to spin up hopefully if this works.
I missed the question. What was the question that we're going to tackle now?
So it was two questions that we said, well, we'll get to them at the end because they kind of they require some show and tell.
Okay.
So we figured I'll do some show and tell. So let's see here. Present, share screen. Whenever I say present, I'm kind of want to do that present. Why is that? I don't know what that is. Right. Let's present the screen here. Let's go. Okay.
Oh, and let me Simon,
So,
just before you start, let me answer the question that's in the chat. Shreeman asks about hydrated RiverPod. If that's the thing that makes permanent storage out of RiverPod providers, there is a release coming done by Remy himself that's going to end up being better, cheaper, faster. But just so give it a bit of time, it'll work.
So
bigger.
So I made a couple of notes earlier. So someone was asking how do you show modal bottom sheet on the top of the screen, and it's like, well, it's a material design. It's not designed for that, but there's no reason why you can't show something from the top of the screen. So here's our little test app, and here it is. Here's the full screen. Is that big enough? Can we see that? Oh,
yeah, that looks pretty good. Yeah.
Right. So we're going to do a quick example here. So, pardon me. So let's do a material app. Give ourselves a starting point, and we'll give it a home. That's a container. Live coding.
Yes.
All right.
Live typing.
Live typing.
That's always a fun part.
It's not a pre-canned demo where you have snippets to just drop in, right?
Yeah.
No, afraid not.
These characters are fresh, very fresh characters.
I don't know why I'm not. Oh,
Vintage
maybe,
5 seconds ago.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's get a good starting point. So let's just do. I'm just doing this to get like a default start. You do not have to use Material App. You do not have to use Steam there. You don't have to use any of these things. But there we go. So now we've got like a nice little white piece of material because I'm using the light theme. Let me switch it to the dark theme so we don't blind everyone. There we go. And here's our good starting point. So what we want to do is show a bottom sheet. So we're going to make we'll keep that example up and we'll make a screen. We'll call it stateful home screen. And we'll use that in place.
No, I'm laughing at the question that just came in about Google abandoning. Didn't like Tim just say something about 7 million developers?
Yes,
on
it's
Google
not going anywhere.
Flutter?
Don't even worry about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
People pick up one thing and associate it to another. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It'll be here even if we have to fork it. It'll be here.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Look,
So,
even Angular Dart survived being abandoned by Google, so don't worry about it.
So what do we reckon? We probably want something to be our bottom sheet. So we'll call it a top sheet. Let's call it. Let's be so.
It's called bottom sheet. I don't know, why you would think you can display it in a different position. It would be called top sheet then or something. But
let's make it a horrible red.
Oh.
Yes.
Let's do it maybe
Lovely.
a darker red so we don't burn our eyes.
Yeah.
And inside this, we're just going to have a size box for the minute. And we'll give it a height of 200, so it sizes itself.
Oh, you still types decimal numbers for those.
I do.
Old habit.
No, it's not a habit. I want them to be decimal because it is a floating point number.
But it takes ints anyway. It still works.
No, because
they fixed that in Dart.
No.
They fixed that in Dart.
No, never. I'm stuck in my ways. I'm like an old man. Look, I'm getting white hair just talking about it. Right. So then what we want to do, so we've kind of got a couple of options here, right? When we want to show our bottom sheet, let's make a center with a elevated button. And on our button fingers, we want to have an on pressed and a child, and that's going to have some text saying show top sheet because this is amazing code. And our void show top sheet. So this is all very much boilerplate now. We're going to get to the interest bit just in just a second. So, okay. So we want to show something on the screen. And we want that to be visible and to appear above everything at the top of the screen. And we want to, if you click off of it, we want it to auto hide. Right? That's kind of like what a bottom sheet does, right? So
Great plan.
There's our explicit things, right? So I'm going to make top sheet private constructible, so it can't be constructed outside of this class, right? I'm also, in fact, I could do visible for testing, and then. That should mean you can't use it, right? If I remember rightly, I don't know. Anyway, now what I'm going to do in here is make a static method that returns a route. My top sheet's not going to return anything, so it's void. And this is going to generate a route. And I'm going to return a I'm going to say page route builder. It's not particularly a page route, but it's don't actually have a pop-up route builder, I don't think. Well, there's something to add to the framework. We should have that. That would make my life easier. Well, I'll use page route builder for the minute, and it will do effectively the same thing. Minor differences in the back end, but it won't make a difference. And when we tap on the button, we want to do navigator of context, push a top sheet route. Yeah.
As Humpday enters its 4th hour today. No.
Not that much.
Going on 36 straight hours of Humpday Q&A.
At 168 hours, we just loop around. It'll be great.
Last week we killed. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago? We killed it like right at 1 hour. We're only doing 1 hour.
Yeah. That's Scott. We're not like Scott.
We have been trying to keep it live, but this is fun. I think everyone's been asking for more live coding, so let's do some live coding.
Yeah.
That's right.
So we want to use our page builder. This is where we can return the widgets that we want to display on screen. Well, we're going to return the top sheet. That's great. Not going to give us any animation. It's not going to do anything fancy. We're just going to display a top sheet. And when you present a route, you want to present it maybe with some settings or some other things. We're going to do transition duration. In fact, we'll come back to transition in a second. Let's see if this works first of all. So this is it. Restart. Here's our button. We press our button, and we get a red screen. Hang on a minute. Whoa. It filled up the entire screen. This is because by default, that's what's going to happen when you push something on the stack, right? Like it's going to fill. We set a size here. Well, that size is just how big I want it to be. The constraint is saying push out to be the full size. So we can solve that. We just wrap this with an align. Nice and simple. And then this align, we say we want to align to the top left or top center or anywhere on the top. It's fine.
Top center,
yeah.
Right. Now if I restart and we press the button. Uh-oh. What did I do?
Nothing happens.
You broke it.
I broke it. Oh, that should. Oh, no, wait, what? That should work.
Align.
What did I do wrong?
Line top left. Return. No, I mean that's essentially the same thing.
I think it's not enforcing any width on us, so we can trick this. It is there. It's there. It's 200 wide. It's 200 high, but it hasn't got width.
It's probably 0 wide.
This is also because you don't want to do this. You should not be doing this. We're doing this because of the fact that we don't have any content, right? But for the most part, this should solve the problem. There we go.
Yeah. Oh, look.
This lovely, it is. This lovely. The blackness is coming because in our page route builder, it's set to opaque true by default. So if we go back, we can set our opaque value to false, meaning it's transparent. And if I press it, there it is at the top.
Oh, nice. Yay.
And now you could give it some lovely padding and all that other fun stuff and make it look nice.
Right. But what we don't have is a way of getting out of it. Right. I can't click here because this is behind. So this is what sort of some of the pop-out route stuff does give us and help us with. But for example, what we can actually do is wrap our alignment with a gesture detector.
Gesture. Yeah, gesture.
Yep.
And then say on tap.
Dismiss the route.
Navigator.
Yep.
Of context. Pop.
There you go.
That's simple. Restart. Click on it. Click outside here. Oh, it didn't work.
No, you click in the square. Click.
Yeah. Well, no. Yeah. So I'm clicking the square, but I actually don't want that. So why?
You want it? You want the sheet
backwards?
Yeah.
Someone asked me that the other day. Why would you want to use absorb pointer and know this? This is why.
There you go.
And then over here, what we're trying to do is this. So we had to change the behavior. Gesture detectors and touches only work on areas that are populated with content. So we put behavior in here to tell it that the hit test should be opaque, meaning that even though it's transparent, the area of the screen, we should treat it as if it was opaque with some content in it. So now when I press the button, when I click out on the bottom section here, it'll pop. So that's the same as clicking off a dialog box. So now if I set I'll give an example here. If I set my height and my width to 200 and my alignment to center, we've just made a dialog box. Click on it, there it is. I click off and it disappears. Click on it, it's there. Click off and it disappears. Nice and simple, right? So that's all a sheet is. Now, what we now want to do is actually give it. So we got some behavior. We got opening behavior, but that's popping up is not helpful. And maybe we want some actual content in here. So let's add a column.
Oh.
Wrap it in Flutter 95 design and get Windows-like pop-up exactly.
Yep.
That would be the classic. There's just some grey pop-up with an X button. No. We could go old school and put a minus symbol on the top left. There's one.
I think I saw a tweet come through. Somebody spored and created a Windows UI in a Flutter desktop app.
Yeah.
This morning. Yeah.
Hello world testing. There you go. And why do I have an error? Because it can't be made constant. Right. Okay, so run that. There's some content. And if we were very clever about this, we could wrap each one of these with expanded. That's because we have a fixed height. I'll draw this at HomeKids. And there we go. They kind of eat up an equal amount. And then I'm just going to just go down the rabbit hole and just do this quickly. I got to make it look nice at least, right? Let's do this. Right. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Slightly nicer.
Birdie. The font size isn't big enough. Make the font bigger. No.
Look. Right, all right,
style, textile. Oh, wrap it. That'll look great.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Oh, tricky.
Wow.
Yeah.
I learned something new every day from Simon. Let me tell you. I do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Let's go.
I do.
There we go.
64.
Right, so,
get the big ones. Get the big ones.
So we've got our text.
Make it bold. Make it bold.
Why
what?
The bottom one looks like it's closer to the edge than the top of the thing to me. I think it's one of those optical illusion things because it's bright or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, so now the point here is we made like a lovely top pop-up thing that you can click on. It pops up and so on and so forth. But I don't know why is that closing? It should not be closing. What did I miss?
What do you
Absorb
mean?
pointer.
What closing?
Yeah.
Absorbing true. It should not be handling the gesture detector because
No, it is.
No, but I've got the absorb pointer for the purpose of I don't want it to close when you click on the sheet itself.
Oh, on the sheet itself.
Ignore pointer just means don't send it down to the children. Absorb pointer is supposed to steal the hit test away from the parent, and it's not doing it. Well, what we could do is be really jank and put like a gesture detector on the top. To be honest, I'm not too worried about it for the minute, and then come back and fight with that another day. I want to get to the animation because that's what we're here for. So now we've done this page route builder. What's next? Well, page route builder has a few parameters, and some are transition duration and transition builder. Oh, barrier color and barrier dismissible. Oh, can we just use that? Will that solve our problem?
Yeah, it defaults to false. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do barrier color. Let's do colors.black 6, and then let's get rid of our. So this by the way is basically what it was already doing. Just for those that don't know. There we go. So it's made darken this off. I can click up here. If I click off, it pops.
Yeah, look at that. Yes.
Okay. So great.
Use the technology, yes.
And we have the technology.
Yes.
So if I get rid of I get rid of the it still works without. It's just like a transparent barrier. Anyway, right. So we want to add these parameters. So let's pop them underneath our page builder. And what we want to do is, so first of all, the durations. Just to see the duration animate, just for us right now, this is not a very bad duration to use. Do not do this in your real app, but this will at least mean that we can see it when we're developing and while we're doing all that. And the default transition builder is just a function, and we'll pop that in here. Now, we could also make that global. There's also, we can make this into a widget itself and just use that. You don't have to use a page route builder. Builder passes them things in as a functions. But if you look at what this actually does, it's just a page route itself, and it just overrides these two methods here, build page. You'd be better off doing that if you wanted this multiple times in different locations in your app. But for the minute, this will do the job for an example. Okay, so let's give it a fade transition. and then the child is what's passed in. That's our content, and that's the last parameter here. And it gives us an animation and a secondary animation. So this is the animation is used when it's played forward when your route comes into the screen. When your route leaves, it's played backwards. Now, secondary animation is played when something else comes on top of your current route. So if something else is pushed on top, then secondary animation is played. So you could fade out your dialogue if another dialogue comes in front. And then the same goes, secondary animation is played in reverse when it's popped off the top. So just letting you know that those things exist. Now, opacity here is just an animation of double. And that's exactly what we have given to us. So we can just drop that straight in. And when it comes to fading, there you go. Now it fades in and fades out. Isn't that cool? So let's give ourselves an elevation and make this like a proper panel. I think 8 is the standard for that.
80.
Yeah.
80.
80. We get a drop shadow there. And then if we also now instead of fading, we want it to slide down the screen. Funny enough, there's a slide transition, which does exactly what we want. And this has a position and, if you remember rightly, something else. A line transition was the other one, but let's do position. And I think that should just do what we want. We'll find out. I think this might be animating an offset. Yeah. So what we want to do to animate offset, we need to make an offset tween. Fractional offset tween. Let's do a tween. Offset. And we want to transform it. Not transform. I forget where. Animate. Yeah, animate with our parent animation. And then this is saying where do we want it to animate from in the beginning? An offset of 0, which is the top of the screen. And we want it to end at offset of 0. Oh, that's not right. So we want to start with an offset of 0 on the X and a negative height of our, so we fixed it at 200 at 200. Now what's going to happen is when I tap it, it doesn't work.
No, your end offset is still 0 though, right?
It should be though, because it's coming down to 0, the top is. Let's flip these around. Maybe it's playing in reverse and maybe I got this wrong. I don't know. Let's find out. Sometimes. Let's see. Oh, I'm seeing it flicker there.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, something's wrong. Well, I'm gonna revert back to my align transition, which will do exactly what I want as well.
Yeah.
It's also because
how many undos do you have? Have you ever used up all of your undos? That's what I want to know. Have you ever used up all of your undos?
I actually extend my undos in my IDE.
I can tell why.
No, it's this one side.
Who uses Git? Just undo it back to yesterday. Yeah. We don't need Git for this.
So this is what we want. This is a size transition with a size factor. And that. Ooh. Why is that jumping around? Oh, we're idiots. That's why. So we've put the line.
Speak for yourself.
Shut up. So let's wrap. So that what's happening here is the transitions are happening,
and we're aligning. Yeah,
and we're aligning within the transition, which is not going to work. So we just need to move it outside.
There you go.
And we can actually move our absorb pointer. We don't actually need to do that anymore, so that's fine. So, right, let's move this again. Hey!
Oh, there we go.
Woo! Anyway, so it's animating from the center, and that's because when you change the size, we want to give it a axis alignment, and you get -1 to 1. So -1 is revealing down, like it's revealing. Ooh. Now, here's the key thing: if we animate down from the top and we give it 1, it's going to appear like it's coming down the screen. And there we go. Right?
We're pulling
and
down.
now now what we can do is we can actually wrap this with a curve. So we say curved animation. The parent is our animation, and then the curve is going to be curves ease in out or something. I don't. There's a what's that? Fast out, linear out, slow in, fast out, slow in, something like that. I don't know. Let's give it a go and see what it looks like. Let's also speed this up. Let's take it down to a reasonable. I think 300 is quite a reasonable speed, maybe even 200 for this. So hopefully it comes up on the stream. Oh, lovely.
Yep.
Yeah. You have to make the sounds.
Well, it needs a sound effect. Where do we wire the sound effect in?
Oh, don't. So I'm gonna. Oh yeah, someone said bounce. Should we try bounce? Let's try bounce.
Oh
Let's
yeah.
see.
Bounce.
This
bounce
is
out,
so.
you know, yeah.
So. You know what it's going to be? This is going to be so like Windows 95.
It's going to be like, you know, back in like, you know.
It didn't bounce. Got to go slower.
It is bouncing. It's just, it's. I think it's
like
just
minimal.
It needs because it needs to be fast. I mean, slower, right?
Slower, yeah.
To 1000,
yeah.
You're going to get more frames per bounce.
Now we're getting to like the old HTML like flash and text days, you know.
That bounced weird though. It bounced at the beginning, not the end.
Yeah, it's bounce in, so now it's bounce out. Dunk.
Oh, okay. That makes sense now.
Right. Dunk. And then you can say like, what's the reverse curve? Curves dot
bounce in.
Ease.
Oh,
ease out expo. Hang on, ease out. Oh yeah, you could. I mean, you could do that, right? Let's do bounce in. I think I would. So it bump and then.
Oh, nice. Oh, I like it. Ship it.
Ship it. It's good. It's good. So now what we could do is just wrap.
Oh no.
Let's do a quick little thing. No. I just want to do one thing here, and just to finish it off, let's call this. We call this top sheet button. Move this down into here, and then what you do is you wrap this in a inkwell. And we say void, callback, option, compressed, compressed. Pass that over.
Oh yeah, now he's getting real fancy.
Yeah. He's abstracting
do stuff. Yeah, we can have it do stuff now.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Pass in a function for its
Whoa, dudes! Like that's so cool, dude. Oh my god! Right, this dot label. This dot, oh my god, this dot label.
Do you have a code action for that? You got a code action for that?
Probably somewhere. I don't know.
Make this is based on finals. I think there's going to do that.
I think that's probably something somewhere. I don't know. I'm not getting that far. Right.
Look for the light bulb. Here. Look for the light bulb.
Yeah. There's some things. Picks me up things. And then what we'll do is we'll just chuck this down because now it's better to have it on the item. Reasons. I won't go into it. Right. So that's a little button now. Now we have our top sheet button. We can drop one in here and then have label hello. And then on pressed, the other way around, we have code above. We do that on here out of right. Actually, I'm going to make it required that you have both, and then you can pass null in if you don't want it to be clickable, right? And then so here we'll say navigator of context pop 0. Right? Right? Are you? Oh yeah, because it's not constant. That's fine. Yeah. Right. Pop. And then we'll have world return 1 and testing return 2.
It's getting a return value from.
This is how we return the value. Up here, where we do it, we put int here. And then in our calling function, we can actually have a state here and say int selected equals -1 to begin with, because it's unselected or some other value, I don't know. And then we display
Option
that.
none.
And we can display that.
Use FP. Option none.
Column. Then add another center with text. Value in.
I've become disenchanted with flag values now that I know about option none.
Yeah. So let's just make this. You take up 50% of the time. Right. So now we have selected. All we need to do is up here on our thing. We can either do a then. So when we get the result, int result, we can then do something like set state selected equals result, like that.
Yep.
Why you no work? Why you complain?
Where is selected? Where is result?
Future or dynamic, because it could be null. If it's cancelled, it's null. If result does not equal null. So if you dismiss.
Oh yeah.
Right. So this is because we use then. I really hate the then syntax. So what we're going to do is make this async. Then we just do it actually some semblance of normal.
With it await. Yes.
Yeah.
Async await. There we go.
Which to me just reads so much better, right?
Yeah.
And then we just do await in here.
Yeah.
Look at that. This reads so much better to me. Right. Restart it and then see. So we're -1. Select top. Hello. 0.
Yay.
I think you made them all. Are they all 0?
No, they shouldn't be. Let's just see here.
Did you give them different numbers?
I gave it 1, 2, and 3, so I don't know why it's 0.
Okay.
64.
Okay.
Do you want 64 in size?
Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah.
When I'm 64.
Is,
Oh, check mounted.
There
check mounted, Shreeman says.
Right, let's try it. 0.
Yeah.
1.
Okay,
one.
he did give.
Oh, he did it 0 bits.
Oh, yes. and 2. There
2.
you go.
All right.
Don't click it while it's bouncing.
Yes. Yeah, and he's right. He's actually right about the check mounted. Basically, we should be calling set state without checking mounted also. So this should be
and mounted.
Thank you very much. I've been corrected. Woo! I like it. So there we go. So that's like an example there of maybe having some sort of custom top sheet. And what was that done in? That was done in about 100 and something odd lines, 150 lines. So that's buttons and all sorts of things, right? So
publish it as a gist now. Publish it as a gist.
Exactly.
And URL it.
It's going to go straight into my gist.
There we go.
So
join the hundreds of others that you have over there.
Yes, indeed. This is the library of the library of Simon, the library of Simon. And bouncy. What should we call it? Bouncy top sheet. Bouncy.
There you go. Bouncy top sheet. I'm gonna add that to one of my apps right now. As soon as you put it out
there. Make it a package. Ship it.
Oh my God, no.
Package it up.
Package to try and maintain? No, thank you.
Put it in the community chest. That way somebody else will maintain it.
Yeah, somebody can maintain it.
Oh, yeah, it's magically maintained by someone else. All right, here's the link in the chat for everyone.
All right.
The other question, should we end it there? We got.
We're already a half hour over.
We're gonna end it here. Someone was asking, I forgot your name, about the automatic keep alive. Ask next week, and we'll get to that. We'll go through that next week, and then that's something for next time.
John, thanks for showing up.
Hey,
hanging out.
I would have come out sooner if I didn't have a bunch of meetings before this. So.
You're more welcome to drop by next week if you like. And
I will be in London next week on Wednesday.
Of course, actually, just saying that. Yes, next week, Wednesday, I won't be available at the normal time slot because I'll be setting up the booth at DroidCon London on Wednesday night. So
that's why,
Randall, you're gonna have to hold down the fort with Scott.
Okay, as long as Scott can push the buttons, I'm fine.
Yeah. So what we'll do, I will announce on the Flutter community Twitter channel on Monday if we're going to do one on Wednesday, just in case something changes, and we'll make sure the link is there so people can add it and remind me later and all that sort of jazz.
Cool.
Right. Yeah.
And the mounted is needed because of the sync, the async parts. Oh yeah, you got to.
Yeah. Someone was asking. Yeah. Is the mounted because exactly that?
Yes.
So basically, what might happen is your. I mean, in this case, not likely to happen because the way the UI works, right?
Yeah.
We're doing a UI pop, so it's not too bad.
Yeah.
But when you do if you're doing an async, let's say to a background class or something like that, that might complete asynchronously. When it comes back to the UI, your widget's been detached from the framework because it hit back or something, and it all explodes. So,
user navigates from one page to another, and the async finishes after you've navigated. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Awesome. Well. Thanks for coming, and I guess we'll see you all next week.
Cool.
Bye for now. Bye.
Bye.